Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Tristan Denley, and I'm really happy that everyone could make it for today's webinar about the Momentum Year. This is work that I'm really excited about. We've been talking about this now for several months since I first came to the system, and I'm really excited that now we've really kind of come to a place where the future is clear, and so today we're going to have this webinar, which will really explain the definitive steps towards, as a system, our creating this coherent approach to first-year student success, and those initial steps then leading on to enabling many more of our students to be successfully graduating from our institutions. Hopefully by now you've at least heard something about this Momentum Year approach. I know I've been, over the last couple of months, I've visited, I think, 16 campuses. So if I've been to your campus, then hopefully you were able to come to a talk that I gave. If you were not, then I think we're going to talk about it today. And if I've not come to your campus yet, then I'm very keen to do so. So please, if I've not visited your campus yet, please reach out to my office, and Angela will be very happy to set up a time for me to come over to visit your campus, spend the day there, and give a talk to faculty and staff that really in depth goes through each of the elements of the Momentum Year, why it would be that we would be working in this way, really making the case for the fact that each of these elements, making a purposeful program choice, enabling students then to follow a clear pathway that involves courses that are in their area of focus, so they feel like they're studying what they thought they chose, and also having success in initial foundational gateway classes like math and English and the critical courses in their discipline. And then all of that then surrounded by an approach recognizing the importance of academic mindset and the non-cognitive factors behind learning. But all of those features together, we know that individually they make a tremendous difference in moving the needle on enabling students to be successful. And what we also know is that together those strategies really will produce a gestalt effect that we know will be able to enable students to be more successful overall, but more than that, also leveling historical equity gaps to enable many more students who, at least in the past, have been less well served by our system, will be able to be more successful. So hopefully that all makes sense. As I say, the details are yet to come, so let me hand over to Jonathan, who will lead us through the definitive steps towards the Momentum Year.
Well, thank you, Tristan. My name is Jonathan Hall. I am the Assistant Director for Policy and Partnership Development here at USG. In addition to Tristan Denley, our Chief Academic Officer, I'm joined by Heather Collins, who is my colleague here and the Policy Analyst with the CCG unit. I'm also joined with Robert Todd, the Director of Policy and Partnership Development, Barbara Brown, the Associate Vice Chancellor for Assistant Vice Chancellor, I always try and change that over, Assistant Vice Chancellor for General Education, and also our guru on many things, but specifically learning support, Rosalind Barnes-Fowler, who is with the CCG unit and focuses heavily and directly on both Gear Up, so she gets the students coming out of the traditional models into schools, as well as adult learners, so the students we're trying to capture back, and our project coordinator, program coordinator here at the CCG unit, Leslie Ann Fenton, who you have heard from multiple times, I'm assuming. So here's our roadmap for the day. Here's where we're going to go. We'll start with a brief overview of what comprises the Momentum Year, and then move into discussion of what you should expect as this is implemented across the system. We're going to dive a bit more deeply into the next steps related to the planning and implementation of the Momentum Year on your campus. And we'll provide an overview of the resources that will be available to you and the resources that may be upcoming as you go through this process. We've allowed for about an hour's worth of time for today's conversation, but we feel like our remarks probably will take about half an hour, and there'll be plenty of time for conversation and questions at the end. But as we go along, if you have questions, please type them into the chat box and we'll answer them as we go, or at the end if it's more appropriate. And we're going to move right along. So the next element is really, what is the momentum year? What is the momentum year? So to understand what the momentum year is, as hopefully many of you have already seen Dr. Denley's presentation on this, or heard another one of us talking about it. But for those of you who have not, the momentum year is a recipe for organizing many of the strategies that are in place on your campus to support new students as they make the transition from not college to college. As they come onto our campus, it helps to integrate the approaches, strategies, resources, infrastructure that we already have on campus, add some new elements on campus to really accelerate their progress towards a degree and eventual success on your institution. So much of this work has already been underway on campus for years now through Complete College Georgia. Some of this will be very familiar territory to those of you. And we understand that gives us a phenomenal foundation to build on. We also recognize that there's a lot of work that still is going to need to be done, and this will be a lift. So we are going to structure this process in such a way that really supports you to get to the end goal, to get to that end line. So the momentum year is organized around 3 key student success principles. We understand that students do best when they start out their college career by making a purposeful choice in either a program area or a focus area, that they enter in with a productive academic mindset, and when they follow a program of study, a program map that includes English and math, 9 credits in their focus area, and 30 credits in their first year. So I want to unpack each of these just a little bit. So first off, what do we mean when we talk about a purposeful choice? So when we talk about a purposeful choice, we're talking about helping a student make an informed choice about their program of study or their area of interest based on their interests and abilities. When they show up on our campus, sometimes they know and sometimes they don't know. And what our goal is to help them make a choice towards a program that will be closer to their areas of interest. This is critically important because of what we know about students' sense of the purpose of their coursework being tied to their academic success. More importantly, helping students make an informed choice in an academic focus area or program of study helps them to get on a path to a degree in their very first term and structures the courses they will enroll in. This means that undecided students will soon become a thing of the past. Students may opt to be exploratory, and campuses might choose to provide resources and structures to enable them to explore a variety of areas if they are truly unable or interested in doing so. But the onboarding and intake systems at our campuses will be designed to support students to make informed choices that they will own and act upon. Obviously, not every student will arrive on campus knowing the specific program that they wish to study, and for that, the system is asking each institution to establish academic focus areas to help to guide that choice. So what's an academic focus area? An academic focus area, or a meta major, as they're also termed, are broad areas of study that share common academic features. At the most basic, we may think of these as STEM and non-STEM, but they're typically more refined than this. They help students who know what they're interested in, but maybe not what they want to be, or not necessarily the specific field. It helps them to gain exposure to determine which programs they're really truly interested in. The strength of academic focus areas is they allow for this exploration in a timely fashion through curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular work, earning credits along the way that will count towards their final degree. And that's an important element of that. This does not preclude a student from selecting an academic focus area and then end up choosing a different academic focus area. But it does help to guide students who would be previously simply undecided or undeclared toward a program that best fits them with respect to their interests and their abilities. Programs of study, your degree programs, roll up into these focus areas, and students who choose a specific degree, they should be allowed to do so, even as they are offered and provided the support and opportunities that are available to all students who are within the focus area that roll up into that focus area. Next. So the next area, and this is probably the most novel area that we've come up with within the momentum year, is this idea of academic mindset. The concept of academic mindset is the idea of fostering this productive mindset on our campus. So for most of us, this will be new work, and we recognize that, and we're really excited about moving this forward. There's considerable research that points to the role that students' mindset has on his or her success in college. Whether it is how attached and engaged they are on campus, how they reflect on setbacks and feedback, whether they feel comfortable approaching faculty, or they even view that they can learn challenging material. Student academic mindset can have an outsized influence on whether they persist and thrive on our campus. In the fall of this year, every freshman in the USG, every freshman across the system was invited to participate in the survey on their academic mindset. We hope to follow this up with a summit late this spring, spring of 2018, to provide some results of this, along with introducing some interventions that institutions can adopt to affect academic mindset. Over the summer, a survey will be available yet again to be part of new student orientations for every campus so that we can get a fuller idea of what the academic mindset is of our students on our campuses as they start their academic careers. And we hope to be able to pilot interventions on mindset beginning fall of next year. The mindset work has generated a considerable amount of excitement both in the state and elsewhere, and I hope you, like me, will feel this is an area where Georgia can be truly revolutionary. So once students have made that purposeful choice, once they have identified where they want to go, and we've ensured that they develop a productive mindset, we need to ensure that students can identify their path to graduation. And the way forward on that is through program maps. Now, program maps is an area where we have had a considerable amount of work done in the past, and they are certainly strong and robust on many of our campuses. But it's important to note that a program map for a focus area may be one that is fairly generic, or it may be one that is fairly specific to a program. But it structures choices for students and ensures that in their first year, they will complete their core English and math. And that math course is a course that is aligned with their program of study. It is that specific math that is most appropriate for the program or the academic area that they are going to pursue. And it also means that they will have to have co-requisite remediation. They have to complete their remediation. So as you may have heard elsewhere, because of the overwhelming success that we have had in our current implementation of it, standalone remediation will be phased out as of fall 2018 in favor of co-requisite learning support. This, along with the idea of aligned math, should really accelerate students' progress towards their degree with English and math done in their first term, if not in their first year. So in addition to that, these maps should include 9 credits in their area of study. This in some ways runs counter to the approach that having students complete their core gen ed requirements before they enter into their program. But this will both allow students the opportunity to explore within their interest, as well as to discern more specifically the program that they're interested in studying. Both of these strategies overlap to foster greater success and persistence. Now finally, and this is something we've worked on in the past, and we've talked about considerably, is that these program maps should include 30 credits in their first year. This reinforces work that every institution has done. It supports the evidence that we've gotten across the state that students who are enrolled in full-time and on-time programs do better. Now, that's a lot to take in, and it's a fair question to ask of how this will unfold on campus. And for that, I get the easy job of handing it off to Heather, who will move us along into what to expect.
Yeah, thanks, thanks, Jonathan. So, as we mentioned earlier, many of you are already doing this work on your campus, and it's why Complete College Georgia has been so successful up to this point. And we want to thank you for for all that work that you've done to this point. The Momentum Year is the next phase for Complete College Georgia, and it's what we're trying to do now is to scale the best practices that we've learned over the last 5 or 6 years, and leveraging the resources of the system and coordinating everybody's effort. We've created a page on the CCG site with all this information about the Momentum Year principles and resources that will help you think through implementation on your campus. We have that listed here. It's completegA.org/momentum-year. So be sure to log on to that for those additional resources that we've already referenced and will reference as we go through the PowerPoint. So to go over the timeline in a little bit more detail to discuss what we've already done and what is upcoming. So during the past few months, we've worked to communicate this initiative through the Regents Advisory Committees, as well as the presentations that Dr. Denley has made on many of your campuses at this point. Now, we know we've not reached everyone, and we've added a recording of his presentation to that resource page that we just listed for those who haven't had a chance to see the evidence that supports a lot of this work. We've also administered the first round of the mindset survey that Jonathan talked through, and we will again next fall in 2018. In addition, we've had a Learning Support Academy and an Advising Academy to begin the conversations with key faculty and staff about implementation. This is all leading into a more focused implementation planning session to happen with your campuses in the coming months. And I'll talk through that in more detail in a minute. But all of this is to help everyone get ready for fall 2018. So come fall 2018, we're hoping to implement some initial mindset intervention pilots, as well as Jonathan mentioned, all learning support students will be provided with co-rec only. We want institutions to identify their focus areas that are aligned with the math pathways, and all incoming students be enrolled in their first year English and first year math. All of this will continue into fall 2019 when we will be adding enrollment of students into the actual focus areas in their courses that were identified the year earlier. So the real question at this point is how is this going to take place? And we will be hosting a Momentum Year Summit at the Georgia Tech Global Learning Center here in Atlanta on February 15th and 16th. While at the summit, institutional teams of 7 will develop 18-month implementation plans that outline the changes that will take place. The teams include the president, the VPAA, the VPSA, the CBO, and then 3 additional team members. These invitations have already gone out, and to help coordinate your teams and pass along related materials and details, we're asking that the president or VPAA identify a point of contact to work with Jonathan and myself. We'll list these points of contact on the CCG page as they're pointed out to us. And during the meeting, teams will have access to 15 to 20 national experts as well as USG staff to create these implementation plans. So we're trying to provide as many resources as we can to help you all customize the different strategies to fit your campus. So to help plan for this, we've worked to develop a comprehensive planning schedule that Jonathan is going to explain in more detail.
Yep. So obviously an 18-month implementation plan and a 2-day workshop requires a great deal of work. And to get ready for that summit, in order to be ready to hit the ground running on that summit, campuses are going to need to do a degree of self-reflection to identify where they are with the various aspects of the momentum year and what they need to do to get to full implementation at scale. So as Dr. Denley's noted elsewhere, the momentum year is really a recipe. It's not a menu. If you have one missing ingredient, you can kind of tell something's missing. And so the momentum year is predicated on the idea that these things all integrate and work together. To that end, to make sure that we have all of the pieces you're sort of aware of on the campus, we've created a self-assessment inventory to help you determine what elements are in place, what elements are in progress, and what elements you need to develop. For those of you who were part of the Beyond Financial Aid workshops last year, this toolkit will look somewhat familiar. It is shorter by a substantial amount, but the inventory is a way to walk through your campus and see where you are and where you need to be. It should be coordinated by your momentum year point of contact, but I want to point out that the inventory will probably be completed by people, in fact, will need to be completed by people across your institution. It should be as broadly disseminated as is feasible and practicable to get the greatest amount of information as possible so that when we gather in Atlanta in February, the hurdles to success on your path are clear and can be discussed as your plan is developed with the experts in building and also with the institutions that you'll be meeting with. Having a detailed understanding of your status and what you need to do to fulfill the momentum year will help make the most of the time we have allowed in Atlanta. So in order to help us with our planning, we're asking that these inventories be submitted to us by January 31st. This will allow us to make a much more detailed, much more refined schedule for the resource folks that we have coming into Atlanta. It will allow us to be much more thorough about the planning we do before you coming in. Now, the inventory is available as a Word file on our website. It's a link at the bottom in the sort of grid of resources. I encourage you all to take a look at it and open it up as you go through. So I want to take just a brief peek at it. So this is a page from it. This is from the third section of it. There are three sections. There are three sections split into strategies and processes generally, and that's a blunt force separation. But it asks campuses to answer essentially four questions. It asks you to ask, how far along are we in implementation of this practice at scale? And then what more needs to be done? In other words, what more needs to be done in order to put this at scale at our institution? What resources are needed? What do we have to have in hand, either personnel or practical? And finally, by whom and what time frame? Now, you could complete all of this in advance of coming to the Momentum Summit, but we're most interested, it's most significant that that first column, how far along are we in implementing this, be completely filled out. And that next column, what more do we need? What more needs to be done? Should at least be drafted on campus so that you've identified what's our roadmap from where we are to where we want to be. The more detail that gets included in this, the easier your path when you are in the Momentum Summit in Atlanta. So how do you get this done, please? So to complete the inventory, we are encouraging institutions to hold conversations across your campus using the inventory. Be as inclusive as possible, be as broad as possible, try and contact as many folks as possible. We recognize that this is coming into the black hole of academic life in December and January. But it's important that we touch not just the academic affairs side, but really truly the student affairs side, the fiscal and business office, institutional effectiveness and research, whoever might have a hand in the process of bringing a student from interest all the way through to completing their first year and beyond. The broader the conversation, the more likely it is you'll be able to fulfill the path towards your momentum year. So, more?
Go ahead.
So, one of the things we've talked about when you're on campus, next slide, is you might want to, we have thought generally about how to organize your discussions on campus. This is a suggestion. It is not a rule, and it is sort of reflects somewhat the way that the inventory is developed. So if you are a campus that is interested in hosting these discussions but need a little bit of help, here is a general outline of how I might structure these, is to talk about the infrastructure. What do we need and have? What parts do we need and have on campus? And and then what are the processes? How do we go through using these things? And finally, coming back, because there is a key element to this in terms of we have to be able to measure and monitor what our progress is. So the important consideration for this is not the structure you use, but who's included on your campus. One of the most critical elements of the Momentum Year will be the degree to which you are able to disseminate this initiative widely, to integrate it into all of your practices and procedures, and to make this everyone's business on campus, because indeed it does underscore the fact that across campus, as the former chancellor used to say, everybody's job on campus is student success. So I'm going to hand this back to Heather to talk a bit more about the planning for the Momentum Year Summit.
Yeah, so as your campus begins to plan, we encourage you guys to reach out with any questions or any feedback that you might have. If you start scheduling these meetings to talk with a broader audience, with folks around campus about filling out the inventory and gathering enough information for the team of 7 to come here to Atlanta with, and you find that you need assistance with that organization or facilitation or just brainstorming about how to approach that, please reach out to Jonathan and myself. Our email information is up here. If you need specific help with organization and facilitation, please send us an email by next Friday, December 15th, and we can talk through that. So again, we've set up a resource page. Here is the link again, completega.org/momentum-year. There you will find the inventory, videos, the Math Pathways doc. We'll be uploading the learning support fundamentals document shortly. And also be sure to share your institutional docs that have already been created by folks at your institution. So these include the co-requisite remediation plans that were recently submitted, as well as your Momentum Year grant proposals. We got quite a few of those coming out of the Advising Academy. Those will be great resources as well. And also think through how you can integrate other initiatives that are happening around campus, both your G2C, John Gardner planning, and if you all are, if your institution is looking at your quality enhancement plan, these are opportunities to begin to merge some of these same ideas as well.
So let me use that as an opportunity to return to something we started out with, and that is that the Momentum Year is not a new thing, not exclusively a new thing. It is a way of organizing the work that you are all already doing by and large around a core principle and accelerating the benefit of that work for your students. It is a way of understanding the work that you do in a new way. It does involve some new elements. But again, these are ways that we are going to, we truly believe that student success can be moved to an entirely new plane at your institutions. So with that, I think we have time for questions, although I understand that at this point it is an exceptional amount of information to gather, and if you have questions after this, you will certainly be invited to email us. I'd invite anyone in the room who has closing remarks or closing thoughts, but it looks like Heather and I covered the entire global area of the Momentum Year in less than 20 minutes. And again, I direct you to the chat box in case you have questions. So there's a question that is arisen, will there be opportunities for those who are not attending the summit to engage in this work?
Absolutely, and that's actually what we're hoping for. So we are including the points of contact for each institution on the resource page, and we hope that you would reach out to them if you have feedback or suggestions or want to be involved. And again, we encourage that, and we want this to be as broadly inclusive as possible as we go along.
Yeah, and this is Tristan again. And the Momentum Year Summit is really in many ways, the kind of kickoff for a whole sequence of events that we have planned to really try to engage as many stakeholders as possible. So we will have, as Jonathan said, an academic mindset summit that will be later on in spring 2018. We're also planning 2 events around the co-requisites, so 2 more of the co-requisite academies. And so that's the kind of the sort of idea where we'll have a lot of themed summits and academies for various different kinds of faculty, staff, various different stakeholders who are involved in doing the work of the Momentum Year.
So we have a question about if we can email out the PowerPoint. Absolutely, we will put that on the resource page as well. So that can be found at the completega.org/momentum-year.
And we will submit to all of you an email with the link to that resource. We've also, and we should have noted, we've also recorded this presentation so you can review the entire presentation with its audio. There's a question, how should we submit feedback to USG about questions we have about the Momentum Year? Again, the easiest way is either to email Heather or me. You can also email Tristan Denley. I believe he answers he at least collects all of the emails as well, or just to ccg.
Ooh, stab to the heart.
So, who should we contact to have Dr. Denley visit our campus? Who should we contact?
If you contact Angela Thomas, that's probably the best thing. You can certainly email me, and I will pass it on to Angela. Angela's the keeper of my calendar, and so she's the best person to reach out to.
And again, if you're coming to this webinar and don't have access to Angela Thomas's email, you can certainly email either Heather or I, and we'll post that along.
Yep. We have another question. The inventory is posted. It's on the resource page. And then we also have a question about, is the Momentum Year point of contact the same as the Complete College Georgia point of contact? It is not. We asked for the Momentum Year point of contact to be identified by the President in their invitation to the Momentum Year Summit.
It could be.
It could be.
It could be. It is not by default, however. So there's a question, has the location for the summit been announced? It has. We will be at the Georgia Tech Global Learning Center in Midtown Atlanta on February 15th and 16th. We expect beautiful non-snowy, non-icy weather in February, and Georgia Tech has guaranteed us this. They have a weather machine, not entirely patented yet, but we're willing to go beta and see what we do. So if you are interested in looking at a copy of the Mindset Survey, there's a question, who do we contact to see a copy of the Mindset Survey? You would actually contact me. I have I can distribute the elements of the Mindset Survey to anyone who needs to see it. I cannot distribute the results of the Mindset Survey at the student level, and there is a degree which we have to redact any low resulting numbers. So it would be aggregate numbers are a little bit trickier with this first iteration, but you can contact me, jonathan.hull@usg.edu, if you want to see the elements of that survey.
While we're talking about the survey, I just want to make one more pitch for those campuses that are working hard to get some students to fill out the survey at the end of the semester. So part of the research design was for us to administer that academic survey to all incoming freshmen at the beginning of the semester and also at the end. We certainly had a very good turnout. We certainly would have been happier for it to be larger, but we had a decent turnout of returns at the beginning of the semester, and we really need all hands on deck to make sure that we get also good data for the end of the semester. So if you need more details about that, please reach out to Jonathan. We would love to have every campus well represented in that data.
Okay. Well, absent any more questions, can you get back? Absent any further questions, or if there are further questions, feel free to send them to either myself or to Heather, and we will do our best to direct it to the right amount. Oh, last minute question, someone looking for cash. We have a question that I think is, when will the $10,000 grants be awarded or be announced?
We'll announce it at the end of this week.
So Robert Todd is indicating that they will be announced at the end of this week, meaning Friday?
Yeah.
Meaning Friday. So now you have a reason to stay in the office until 5 o'clock on Friday to see if you indeed know somebody who has gotten a $10,000 Momentum grant. If there are no further questions, we will thank you all for your time, return you to your regularly scheduled Wednesday. And again, we invite you to contact any of us about questions related to Mindset Momentum Year. And as we move forward, we really are, again, very excited about the opportunity this affords us to accelerate our student success.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to thank you for your participation. Good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stop recording, stop recording, stop recording.
You can't move that.